Welcome everyone to today's special event honoring Eastern Europe. My name is Matilda Lindberg and I'm the Associate Director here at the Museum of Public Relations. We're thrilled to have 6 communication experts with us here today from the region who will share their stories, insights, and foremost advice and opportunities in an area that has had far more impact on the global economy than many might have thought. Managing the message on the front lines, public relations in Eastern Europe is sponsored in parts by the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication, the IW Group, the PR Council, Amazon, Google, WorldCom, and Compro. Today, we will spend the upcoming hour together, starting with an overview from each panelist, followed by a brief discussion moderated by today's host. He's a native of Bulgaria with an extensive background in journalism, both in Bulgaria and the US. Dr. Christopher Karajov joined the faculty at Cal State Long Beach in 2005 and focuses his studies on Eastern European media in contrast to journalism practices and media influences in other parts of the world. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Matilda, thank you so much for your hard work putting this event together, and welcome to everybody to this webinar. I wish we were in person with each of you, but at the same time, this format that we have become so used during the past 3 years of the pandemic allows us to connect speakers from 5 time zones, which is actually very, very cool. I am particularly thrilled to be hosting or moderating this event with such high caliber organizers and high caliber speakers. Because I'm originally from Bulgaria. I'm old enough to know how Eastern Europe has become periodically the center of attention of in the West, and then its influence or its importance kind of waxed and waned. But now with the war in Ukraine, we see how Europe's balance of power has shifted eastward, and it has been providing unprecedented economic and political importance to the region. At the same time, quite tragically, with the ongoing war in Ukraine, we have seen the region becoming home to many thousands of Ukrainian refugees, including some of the top minds in finance, science, and tech. Businesses from all parts of the world moved into Eastern Europe to take advantage of its growing intellectual capital, economic prosperity, and again, this goes along with the tragedy of the war. It opens up also opportunities for the communications industry, which is growing very fast across the region and has been very, very strong. And I would probably venture to say it has never been more important because of the conflict, because of the tragedy, because of what's going on in Ukraine. We have 3 goals of this event, or 3 major aims. Number one is to introduce the region as a modern and developing destination with diverse cultures and numerous opportunities for collaboration and investment, not only in the field of communications, but in many other areas. And we have speakers who can address the specifics of each country, of course. We would also like to provide up-to-date relevant information in regards to the effects of the war in Ukraine. Again, we're not policymakers here. We're not engaged in political decisions, but we are all communicators, and this is very important. In communicating the message and sharing the message and opening up the hearts and minds of the world toward this region is very, very important. And then last but not least, our goal is to promote the panelists as ad hoc advisory board to stakeholders and interested businesses in the region, and then create further engagements after this event with interested counterparts, and basically start a conversation that can continue further on. So what I would like to do next is I will give you the names of each panelist. They're in no particular order. It's kind of random drawing, so we're not assigning any importance to the order in which I'll be introducing the panelists. And they will say a few words about themselves, about their particular country, about their particular activity that they're engaged in, and then we'll have questions for each of the panelists, group discussion, and we will also open up to questions from the audience. So without further ado, I would like to introduce first Patrick Schober, who is the managing partner of Pram Public Relations Agency from Prague, Czech Republic. Patrick, if you can say a few words about yourself, and then we can move on to the next panelist.
Thank you, Chris, for introduction. So my name is Patrick Schober, and I'm a managing partner of Pram Consulting, which is, let's say, top 5 PR agency in Czech Republic. I studied international affairs in, let's say, neighboring university to Chris's university, because I studied it in Orange County. And throughout the years, I was chairman of Vodcom PR Group, or Czech PR Association, or member of the board of ICO. I'm from Czech Republic, based in Prague. Czech Republic is, let's say, small country just in between Poland, Germany, Austria, and Slovakia. And and of course, the economy of the country is linked mostly to Germany. From a communication point of view, the media, we have public TV and broadcast radio, and then a wide range of private TV channels and traditional or new media. Freedom House said that the media operate freely without undue government and curbs. So that's it about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And then next is Seyhan Ayel, the founder and CEO of Optimor Group and Atlantis Consultancy from Istanbul, Turkey.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for your introduction again. This is Seyhan from Istanbul, Turkey. It's an interesting city, if you know it or not, I'm not sure, but we are the only city in the world which is on Europe and Asia, on 2 continents. So I'm actually saying hello from 2 continents in a way. We are one of the leading PR agencies in the country. We have been operating since 27 years. It's been a long time, and the region changed a lot in those years. Eastern Europe, we are we are considered Eastern Europe, and also sometimes Middle East, sometimes Europe. Interestingly, Turkey is in the middle of everything. This is due to its location, actually, because we have neighbors from Middle East and Europe, due to our location in 2 continents, in a way. And of course, this location brings us in a big advantage as well. We have been a hub for many international companies like Microsoft, or big pharma companies, or you name it, actually. So this is a big advantage, but also a big disadvantage because we are surrounded by conflict and war in a way, in the South, Syria and Iran, and in the North, maritime neighbors, Ukraine and Russia. So you can imagine our situation in a way. But I mean, against all odds, Turkey is a very vibrant country with 85 million population, with a very young and dynamic population. And although we have our own challenges with the earthquake, and I'm not sure if you follow or our coming elections, I'm really hopeful about our country. And I would urge everyone to look into that and to see, I mean, how we can actually cooperate. So in a way, this is a welcome from Istanbul, and I think this is my cue to disappear.
And Istanbul is a wonderful city, as well as is Prague, as is Budapest, where our next panelist is Andres Nagy, managing owner of Probaco Communications. Andres.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Chris, for this introduction. Yes, I'm located in Budapest, Hungary, and just to give you a short overview of this whole region, I'm just a few hundred kilometers from Patrick's location, from Prague, with a totally different country, with a totally different language, and which is more, there is even a third country between our two countries, which is Slovakia. So it's a complicated and very, very interesting region, so to say, from culturally, language-wise, and from all other sense. Our company, Probaco Communications, was started 20 years ago. I'm the main shareholder of the company. Before that, I worked as a journalist, so I know both sides of the barricade, so to say, if we give this picture of the PR and journalism. And well, our country, just to give you a short introduction, is we always refer to ourselves as Hungary as a small country, but actually in the European Union, we are a mid-sized country with 10 million people living inside the borders of Hungary and a few other million of Hungarians living outside of the borders of the country. And just to give you a few names with Hungarian origins, to give some sense about how proud us about our creativity and the creative industry. One of the latest examples is Jamie Lee Curtis, who just received the Oscar award and mentioned her Hungarian background at a after-party interview. Katalin Karikó, the inventor whose idea was the base of Pfizer's anti-COVID vaccine. And I don't know, Rubik's Cube, for example, which is, it was invented more than 30 years ago, if I'm right, and is still very popular. So we Hungarians are very proud of our creativity, our unique culture and unique language in this region. So that's all.
Thank you, Andres. And next to my compatriot, that's why I put you only fourth, Todor Yanev, managing partner, Yanev & Yanev, chair of the board of WorldCom Public Relations Group. Please say a few words about yourself. Sofia, Bulgaria.
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. As Chris said, I'm from Bulgaria, Sofia, managing director of Yanev & Yanev. This year, we're celebrating our 30th birthday. So like the rest of the group here, quite a substantial history in terms of when the changes in this region really happened. Bulgaria is a mid-sized country, much like Czech Republic and Hungary, with a stable economy, sectors which are interesting for foreign investment include telecommunications, technology, pharma, automobile. We have significant businesses over here. Some of them are structural for the region, we may say, such as energy. And I also think it's like Andres said, it's very important to give some relatable topics. So we are actually the biggest producers of lavender and rose oil. So to all of you using any sort of essential oils, like doTERRA produces, for example, this is most of the time coming from our lands. Another similar name that you may have heard of just recently in the Oscars, that's in the movie of Navalny, who won the Oscar for Best Documentary, and the work of an investigative journalist who actually gave the structure of this movie. So these are two things maybe which you can relate to. In terms of communication in Bulgaria, it's a mixed market. We can talk later about media ownership, about freedom of speech, how the war has affected the sector here. So looking forward to discuss more of what PR is like over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Todor. And last but not least, Rick Serdyuk, who is the co-founder and creative director of Banda, a record-breaking Ukrainian creative agency. Rick, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, my pleasure and honor to be here. I'm Ukrainian, but I live in Los Angeles. I'm the owner of Ukrainian creative agency, Banda. We do operate in Kiev and in LA. And our agency was named the most effective agency due to New York's Effie Index in 2020. And we were named the most creative agency in Central and Eastern Europe. And so we specialize in brand identities and brand transformation. And of course, when the fully fledged invasion happened in February, we switched to the branding of Ukraine. Our job now is to keep Ukraine in the spotlight, and we work hard with the brand of Ukraine. We popularize the brand of Ukraine to the world, because when the war started, nobody rushed to help Ukraine, because everyone was expecting what will happen next. So then the miracle of Ukrainian bravery happened, and now we branded the Ukrainian bravery. We have made the campaign Be Brave Like Ukraine and made it global. And now we try to capitalize on this and to help Ukraine to win on creative battlefield. So my job is to work with the brand of Ukraine. We are working closely with the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. Our main client these days is Mikhailo Fedorov, our Vice Prime Minister, the Minister of the Digital Transformation of the country. And this morning, we have presented the new visual identity for the ministry and the way how to communicate with the Ukrainians and how to communicate with the foreign people. So yeah, this is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. So as you have it, you have me in London, you have Prague, you have Istanbul, we have Budapest, we have Sofia, Bulgaria, and we have Los Angeles, and of course, we are on New York time. So across pretty much the entire world, but this being a big, wide world, there are certain issues with geographical proximity and certain influences because of geographical proximity. And I would like to open up with a question for Patrick, if I may. Patrick, who has, we talked in our preliminary discussions about some of the similarities between the 1968 Soviet propaganda during the invasion of Czechoslovakia at the time. The suppression of Prague Spring and all of that, and the Russian propaganda, Russian messaging during the invasion of Ukraine of 2022-2023. Patrick, we as professionals, as communication specialists, how can we counteract disinformation and propaganda coming from such a powerful, big, influential neighbor as is Russia today, and obviously as it was in 1968?
Yeah, as you said, both invasions, the 1968 invasion of Czechoslovakia and the current invasion of Ukraine, have been accompanied by propaganda and fake news and justifying Russia's actions and manipulating public opinion. And actually, we've been seeing this throughout the past, let's say, 50 years since 1968. But of course, let's say past 10 years, we've been influenced by Russian and Chinese misinformation and disinformation campaigns. And based on that, actually, during my chairmanship of Czech PR Association, we actually thought that it is not only disinformation about public and governments and national topics, but also particular organizations and companies can be influenced and damaged by disinformation. And based on that, we came out with 7 principles how PR managers and communicators should, let's say, deal and fight with disinformation. And we launched that. This is actually interesting. We launched these principles in 2020 and presented it around Europe, and different European PR organizations were not really interested in it and said, "Well, this is we don't want to go as political, and Russia will never do invasion into Ukraine." And actually, a year ago, the whole thing actually turned in 180 degrees, and actually. Other PR organizations in Europe started to using these principles because they saw that actually they can use them. So these 7 principles, they will be in a handout, so you can read them. But to give you a brief introduction to them, first principle is to define, because to anybody, disinformation or misinformation means something different. So we should define what disinformation can mean for us, for our organization. Then we should explain. We should use our media expertise and educate our surroundings about what disinformation and what risks actually could bring such a disinformation. So, like we should educate our management. Of course, we shouldn't advertise on a disinformation website. This is a reputational risk for our organizations, and support spread of disinformation, support media. You need to work with them. Then the fourth one is we shouldn't inform these disinformation media. So, like, we shouldn't send them press releases or invite them for press conferences. Just if we will not inform them, then they will have no information about us, and they might not start spreading misinformation about our companies. The fifth one, we should get ready, actually, and disinformation can endanger an organization's reputation and is a significant source of crisis communication. So we should define procedures for these crisis communication, and so that we will be ready when arises these disinformation. We should. The sixth one is disprove. Because ignoring misinformation may not be the solution, actually. In the situation of reputation threat, we should carefully consider how to disprove disinformation so it is not strengthened. And the seventh principle, I think the basic one from a journalist point of view, we should verify. verify everything what we publish. We should find independent source of objective information. We should use fact-checking platforms and just verify everything what we publish. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And I just saw that Jorge from G-Garrett PR jumped in from Baja California. So I'm getting completely flabbergasted by the geographic reach that we have for this event. But I would like to piggyback on your response and throw it a little bit to Andras, if I may. Andras, in your view, I mean, you are basically, one country over from Patrick, and you are neighboring Russia, obviously. What can be the role of communications in situations like we have now? Not just the war, but also economic hardships. We had, lots of other issues even before the current war that were problematic. So what could be the role of communications from Central and Eastern European perspective?
Yeah, and thank you very much for the question. Just a small correction at the very beginning. We are neighboring Ukraine and not Russia. So this is it's a very short border, but it's a border. The question is very good and very important, and which is more, I can absolutely agree with everything that Patrick just mentioned with these principles. And I think the communication in this situation or situations like this, when we are right now, is essential, because that can be the source for knowledge and fact-checking and everything, because we have to help spread the accurate information about all kinds of situations like this one, because I totally agree with everyone who mentioned it during this conversation, and I can see it myself if I look around, that there is all kinds of propaganda everywhere. So we have to be really careful during the communications not to help spreading the propaganda and not be fooled by the propaganda. And this is why the permanent communication is absolutely essential. And let me give you a very good example where actually PR, public relations, media relations can help in a situation like this one. When the war started a little bit more than a year ago, in the first weeks or the first months, there was a very interesting and useful initiative from, as far as I can remember, from a Lithuanian PR agency, together with some Ukrainian communicators, when they started to collect possible spokespeople living in Kiev and in other parts of Ukraine, working for different companies or organizations or everyone, and who were willing to give interviews and real facts about the situation to foreign media. And some international communicators just jumped in, some other agencies from other parts of the world just jumped in and helped to connect these people to the local media in Western countries. And I think it was a absolutely important initiative to help spreading the core messages of the situation. So I think this is a very good illustration of how PR and communication can help situations like this one.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I just want to kill myself for putting you next to Russia. But hey, as I said, I'm dating myself because I grew up at the times of the Soviet Union, and there was only one Russia, which was the USSR then. All right. All joking aside, but we have two very different countries represented in this panel. that have been undergoing some sort of rebranding or digital rebranding, but not just digital. Some of it's very, very analog. And these countries are Turkey, or Turkey, and Ukraine. And I would like to throw it to Rick and Seyhan, maybe how your countries are undertaking this process of rebranding themselves or branding themselves digitally. What are the working strategies? How are you communicating with the world? So I don't know, maybe Seyhan, you want to say something first, and then Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. Of course, this is a long process. I mean, we have been known as Turkey for a very long time. And last year, Turkey applied to the United Nations to change its name, which is actually the name we are using in our country, Turkey. So we wanted to use it all over the world because, I mean, to be frank, mixing a country with a bird is not very pleasant. And it was a confusion issue and things like that. And it wasn't really fair on Turkey. It's kind of going on everywhere. I mean, it's just due to our tourism industry's importance to us. I mean, it's like we call it a factory without a chimney. Actually, Turkey tourism industry, it's very, very I mean, important. And while promoting Turkey, the new brand is also promoted. But of course, I mean, the crisis is also make it more also in the forefront. Like the earthquake and everything, it's just wherever it's mentioned, the new name is mentioned. We are going through a lot of difficulties I mean, we have been for a couple of years, actually, for quite some time, with the conflict surrounding our country and finally the earthquake. But I mean, I feel optimistic about this rebranding and repositioning because Turkey is also very much digital savvy, as you might call it. Technologically advanced youth is very I mean, entrepreneurial. They are building startups and things like that. And you would see, I mean, we are seeing like AR, VR, XR applications all over the world. I mean, we also do things like that. And also, I mean, AI-based research and things like that. So you wouldn't actually believe a country maybe in Eastern Europe or Middle East, how you look at it, to be your partner in things like that, but consider it as an advantage because, I mean, to be frank, I mean, when you compare it with our exchange rate, it's incredibly competitive. So in a way, I mean, Turkey is rebranding, not only in the name, but also in the sense of technology and advancements. So I mean, it will be important to watch.
Thank you, Seyhan. And Rick?
Yeah, the brand, nowadays everything is branded, you know, like nation and countries too as well, and brands attract attention, and we do follow brands and we want to support brands and the stories behind them. So let's talk about the brand of Ukraine. Now, yeah, for some countries, brands, they use brands for boosting tourism, and for Ukraine now, its brand is like it's the matter of survival. Yeah. Do people follow our brand? Do people want to support our brand? So that's why we started to use branding techniques and branding tools to make our brand stronger in the world. And you have to have a strong brand. Even if you are the country who's being attacked by the monster, Like if your brand is weak or if your brand is not interesting, you have a problem. Yeah, so nobody wants to support a weak brand. So, and Ukraine was a post-Soviet country on Russia's outskirts with a bad reputation. Like maybe a year ago, I was talking to lots of American people, and they have had hard times to even to say a few words about Ukraine. And the year have passed, and we have such a great results at the moment. So if, let's say, this is the war of two brands, yeah, so the brand of Russia is destroyed, yeah, and the brand of Ukraine is at its peak right now. So a few results: Ukraine's reputation as a trustworthy partner in the US increased from 49% in 2021 to 67% in 2022, so almost doubled in a year. And Ukraine is now ranked among the top 20 most influential countries in the world. I have the recent result according to the Global Soft Power Index 2023. And inside Ukraine, to be honest, when it started, maybe you've heard that the world, it was in the media that the world gave us 3 days. And Ukrainians were, lots of Ukrainians who did the same. Like we were stunned, we were shocked, and we were shocked, and lots of us were thinking that we will surrender like the next day. But in January 2022, 56% of Ukrainians believed in victory, and now the recent result now is 95%. So this is the way how the brand works. And you said that how to fight Russian propaganda machine. The answer is easy, like use your brand and be on the air every day, like our president does, Zelensky. Every time he's communicating with Ukrainians using his iPhone, his all tools, and our vice prime minister that I mentioned, he does the same. Yes. So my answer is let's use branding techniques when we on the government level.
Thank you, Rick. I was actually very impressed when President Zelensky came last year to speak at the Congress, US Congress. The speechwriters clearly understood US audiences, and particularly US audiences. So that was very, very savvy speech that he delivered, and we know that he's a very, very savvy, very good communicator. But since this event is organized by the Public Relations Museum, which is a US-based organization, and I'm based in the United States as well, my current location in London notwithstanding, I would like to ask perhaps Todor, what would you consider the main challenges in improving the collaboration between US and the region, and what is there something that American communicators should keep in mind while working across Eastern Europe?
Thank you, Chris, and all the other panelists so far. Very interesting conversation. In terms of main challenges, first of all, I think we must say that there is a lot of collaboration going on, and that there is substantial US influence in a lot of our countries. However, on the other side, there is the Russian influence, which is here and has been here for much longer. So to me, we need one of the needs of PR, and one of the things that we must be doing, defend our core values in everything that we do. And therefore, I have the feeling that entering the European Union, becoming democracies, our countries have a little, have stopped pushing the communication on democracy, its values, its virtues, its benefit. And when the war started, we are now seeing this new push. We're seeing the whole of the Western world uniting. In some countries like Bulgaria, it's maybe a bit more difficult to accept this because of the proximity to the war, to Russia. But this is a responsibility of our sector, and this really leads me to say that I think communication cannot stop in any way. If we're democratic countries, we have the responsibility to defend democracy in the long term. And I feel there's been some decline of communicating that democracy over the past few years. And I would like to give you an example that happened over here in Bulgaria recently in relation to this propaganda, which is a challenge maybe for the collaboration. We had an issue with Facebook and their moderators. So a lot of influencers had their accounts blocked for months and weeks because of comments which, according to the Facebook monitorers here in Bulgaria, were incorrect. And there was a big debate. They even had to go, representatives of the company moderating, and Facebook had to go to parliament. And so this is kind of a direct blocking of freedom of speech on social media, which I think is something new in these times. So I think we need to support further and communicate both ways, not just from the West giving our democratic values, but also our countries, our region needs to think not only as countries, but as a region as a whole, how we communicate and establish ourselves better over the pond or to the West. So I think that's it from me on that question, Chris.
Todor, if I can follow up on that, since you're the chair of WorldCom, where do you see the potential of the region in the global communication field? What are the things that this region can teach the rest of the world?
I believe in general that a successful communication requires a wider out-of-the-box view and definitely local knowledge to the market. So in one respect, and I saw a question by one of the participants here, you can't consider the whole region as one and try and communicate with the same message, but need to tailor it to the region. And in terms of what we can give, I think we can give a lot. We can give services such as social media, virtual, visual arts, 3D. We have companies that produce a lot of the 3D for movies in Hollywood. So in terms of services, I think it's a win-win situation. I consider the market to be still very competitive here in terms of costs and in terms of skills of people. So high quality products can be produced. And in terms of PR, I think the region has some real leaders in the PR globally right now. So a lot of lessons can be learned, and particularly in changing times, in this transition from socialism to democracy, it's been a long way, and this knowledge gathered through the years can be used in the current situation with the war and with changing global communities and situation. I think even the meeting yesterday between Mr. Putin and the Chinese president has been a key factor of changing environments. So I guess our experts can offer a lot in terms of advice.
Thank you, Todor, and just wanted to say hi to Tim Howard, my former colleague from Cal State Long Beach, who is joining us at this event from California, I believe, team. We'll open up the floor for questions from the audience, and I would like to ask the panelists just to just jump in and answer the questions as briefly and as concisely as possible, because it's a fantastic conversation here and we will run out of time very, very soon, and it will be a very, very nice start to further discussions. But the question that we have from Gladys Diaz is, what have been the greatest challenges in the actual context? Can you share some successful examples and strategies to neutralize propaganda and misinformation? So any of you, please, can take the floor and answer the questions.
Well, I can start. I think the challenges are actually very similar to challenges to other countries, either in Western Europe or UK or US. We don't have enough talent. It is really hard to keep good account managers in the agency. And at the same time, it is, let's say, sometimes quite hard to talk to our clients because they are not, let's say, educated enough how to run public relation campaigns. So we have to explain them. And but at the same time, I have to say that maybe 10, 20 years ago, our markets were undereducated regarding the PR professionals. And for example, our PR association ran 2-semester education seminars about public relations. And nowadays, since, let's say, COVID, like 2001, 2002, these seminars are not really the favorite ones, because there are so many different seminars and education regarding PR. So the whole industry is, let's say, educated. The biggest challenge is now to educate let's say, the C-level managers to understand what we are actually doing and how we should measure the PR campaigns.
Rick, yeah.
Yes, to fight Russian propaganda, we have launched more than 60 projects, but the most effective one was, it's called Papa Believe, Father Believe Me. We found the Ukrainian influencer who is Ukrainian, but his father is Russian and he lives in Russia and he doesn't believe his son. So we made this project, we shared his story, and it got featured in CNN and BBC, and it got millions of views. And we just shared the story, and we gave people the answers of the way how you can convince your father or your mother or your relatives that this is right and this is wrong. And the impact was huge just when we tell this story on this family, Ukrainian and Russian.
Thomas Barat from USA, former Hungary, ex-VP of CRP, is asking a couple of professional questions. So the first one is, what is your personal opinion on the importance and viability of public relations in Eastern Europe? And he's asking that because it's a place where propaganda used to dominate, and then marketing communication took over the role of communication. So how viable is public relations in Eastern Europe?
If you don't mind, I mean, I will answer this and also add a few things to what Todor said and Patrick and even Rick. So PR, I mean, no doubt is the center of communications in a way. I believe, I mean, without proper positioning and without proper PR messages, even the marketing campaigns wouldn't work. So for a company or for any message to work, first there needs to be a proper brand image, which not only has visuals or things like that, it's the reliability. Actually, the context is designed by PR, and the storytelling starts with PR actually. So I believe it will be here to stay. And I also always tell my clients, even in social media, please stay in line with your PR campaigns, with your PR messages, because otherwise it's just a chaos. So in a way, PR is the main road, and other issues, I mean, other practices follow, in my opinion. But regarding your question about what can be learned in Eastern Europe, what we can do for, I mean, US communicators or around the world, actually, it's again, the positioning, because, I mean, every country is unique in itself. We have different sensibilities, different sensitivities. So if you don't reposition your brand, even the most successful brands may fail or have struggles, which is a waste. So in a way, working with a local company which knows what they are doing, and the area and the culture, as you also said, I mean, talking in US, you need to be understanding US. So if you're talking in Turkey, you need to understand the Turkish audience. So you need to know very deeply, and you have to have the right people by your side. I mean, I wanted to add this.
Thank you. Shelley Spector is asking a very specific question of Rick, and it is, Rick, are you doing separate campaign for Ukraine directed to the millions of former Ukrainians now living in the United States?
No, at the moment, but this is a good idea.
And a question for anyone who ventured to answer it again from Shelley. It's what kind of communications campaign is being led by Russia right now? Is it purely Putin-inspired propaganda, or there is something else? So, Enya, Andres, or Patrick, or Rick, Todor, what is the type of communication campaign that's led by Russia right now?
Well, it's kind of, I would say it's not an official campaign. It's very much based on social media, on the so-called trolls, of which there's been a lot of investigations. So there is, a lot of information being spread, sometimes even targeted to certain communities in order to make them confused about the situation. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that a lot of the communication that is coming in a foreign language to Bulgaria is limited in terms of availability for the people, because a lot of the people don't speak English, for example, or cannot follow the Western media. And still a lot of these older people understand to a certain extent Russian, even if they're not fluent in it. So different types of campaigns are coming. We had something like 70 diplomats expelled about 9 months ago. So they're working not just through media, but behind the scenes. We can also say that there are certain Russian-owned or Russian-owned media, not officially, of course, but media where you can definitely see a more supportive tone towards Russia. So I think these are the major ways that they're doing it. But probably the most important thing is Russia has not been has not started the propaganda now. This has been going on for a lot of years. Actually, most probably since all of these countries went into the European Union. So, as I said before, this is something that has been going on for a long time, and it's difficult to stop it now. It's difficult to change the understanding of the audience, and a backward force needs to be strengthened in that, so we can fight this propaganda. The correct messages needs to reach the audience. That's it for me, Chris.
Thank you, Todor. We have literally 2 minutes left, and I want to wrap it up on a quick one-liner from each of you, if I may. Don Bates is asking a question: as an American, what do I need to know about how public relations is different in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, or is it different? So if you can just give me a one-liner, yes, no, how? Patrick.
Well, it is really different because Eastern Europe are something like 10 different countries with 10 different languages and 10 different cultures. And you have to count on it when you are sending press release or do public relations or any other communication campaign.
Seyhan?
Maybe not the PR is different, but the messages definitely are different in our country. So the way we are working might be a little more challenging, because I mean the area is very much chaotic in a way. So we are fighting for share of voice. So you need to be more focused, you need to be really interesting in what you are telling, and also to be consistent. But that's everywhere. But you have to really know the market to gain the interest. That's my take.
Thank you, Seyhan. Andras?
Well, I would say that regarding the means or the tools of the communications, the PR is not different in this region at all. But just to reflect on what Patrick said, it is very important that culturally it's very different, and culturally it's very diverse. Different languages, different cultures, different histories, different contexts in all these countries. So if someone coming to this region and want to communicate, they should be careful about these things, and it's absolutely a wise idea to use local advisors, because they have to be careful. But as for the means of the communications, that's the same.
Todor, please.
Hi, yeah, I agree with all that's been said so far. The way of doing PR is the same. You need we've actually tried in WorldCom doing regional or European campaigns. It's a slightly more difficult because particularly of the language and cultural barriers. So when we have a client and they want to pass one message, we're pushing them to have it tweaked for every different market, and that's not always easy. So have that in mind if you want to communicate in Europe, that you need to be a bit more flexible and trust your advisors on the way they want to tweak your message.
Enrique, what is your take? Living in another country and covering, working for a country that's 10,000 miles away.
From my perspective, not much difference, or maybe no difference at all, since we're like living we're online bubble, all of us, and it's like a melting pot. And in terms of the way we communicate and perceive branding and public communications, it's all the same. And just like it changed very drastically last years.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a fantastic discussion. I know that we can carry on for probably another hour or so, but we are bound by our contract to be tight and concise, and use this as an opportunity to really start and maintain this very important conversation. Remember, the last goal, the third goal that I outlined in the beginning was to use this panel as an advisory board of sorts, as your beginning point for practitioners, for companies, for anyone who needs or is interested in communication in Eastern and Central Europe to use these resources. I believe that the organizers will provide further contacts and opportunities, and there is a recording that we have of this event. So it will be available to be a starting point, not the end of the conversation. I would like to thank on my end for the opportunity to host this event and get to meet such interesting people, and thanks to Bill Imada in person, thanks to Sherry, thanks to Matilda, thanks to you, Todor, Enrique, and Seyhan, and Andres, and Patrick. Thanks to all of you. Matilda, wrap it
Thank
up.
you so much, Chris, and thank you all who joined us today. And a special thanks to our marvelous panelists who shared their stories. And again, Chris, for taking us through the event. Together, we're all writing history one step at a time. Managing the Message on the Front Lines, Public Relations in Eastern Europe is sponsored in parts by the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication, the IW Group, the PR Council, Amazon, Google, WorldCom, and Compro. Don't forget to check your email. Just as Chris said, after the show, we will provide you all with some more information as well as contact information to the panelists. We hope to stay in touch with all of you. Don't forget to follow the Museum of Public Relations on social media to stay tuned for our next event. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.